Caitlin Clark strolled into the spotlight once again, this time by creating a massive stir at Carver Hawkeye Arena, where tickets for her preseason homecoming game seemed to vanish as fast as they went on sale. The clamor was immediate and overwhelming. Within an incredibly short span, every seat in the house was claimed by eager fans looking to witness her on-court heroics. Almost instantly, resale prices shot up to sky-high amounts that fans of most professional leagues can scarcely imagine. Then, while Clark basked in the glow of a fully packed arena, Angel Reese faced the unsettling reality of empty seats for her own upcoming game. Tickets for Reese's exhibition were going at rock-bottom prices, yet somehow remaining unsold. This stark contrast ignited social media chatter everywhere, with commentators asking how someone who declared herself the face of the league could fail to draw crowds at a fraction of the cost of a Caitlin Clark ticket. Observers were quick to point out that, just a few months ago, Reese boasted she attracted plenty of attention to women's basketball. Some fans even believed that she would match, or perhaps eclipse, Clark in her rookie campaign. But as the new season approached, the numbers told a completely different story. Caitlin Clark was pulling in fans by the thousands, setting off a chain reaction of demand so intense that seat prices soared to levels rarely seen before for a women's basketball event. Meanwhile, Angel Reese's game tickets were going for around $29, yet even those remained on the market. Reports of entire sections sitting empty for Reese's match added another layer of shock to the discussion. Fans wondered if the hype around Reese might be more about social media activity than about true ticket-buying support. Then came the narrative that took hold. Clark is clowning Reese simply by letting the numbers speak for themselves. In one arena, seats sold out in less than an hour, with resale tickets reaching 4 figures, even 5 figures in a few wild listings. In the other, seats were collecting dust, widely available at nearly any time one chose to visit a ticket website. This unfortunate discrepancy led to a torrent of memes and online jokes. Some fans remarked they would willingly spend a fortune just to watch Clark perform, while not even turning on their TV to catch Reese for free. Others poked fun at the idea of paying big money for Clark's front row seats, but skipping a Reese game even if it was practically a giveaway. What makes the situation even more dramatic is that the game featuring Clark at Carver Hawkeye Arena is technically just a preseason event. Traditionally, preseason games struggle to generate significant hype since the wins and losses don't count in official standings, and coaches often experiment with rotations and play styles. Yet that did not matter in Clark's case. The moment her appearance was announced, excitement flared. Tickets dropped on a weekday morning, and the public availability was barely a blip before the entire place went off the market. Fans then scrambled to the resale sites, only to find tickets listed for hundreds, thousands, or in one bizarre case, tens of thousands of dollars. It was an unprecedented show of enthusiasm and interest for a women's basketball game, even for someone as accomplished as Caitlin Clark. Simultaneously, Reese's upcoming game found itself overshadowed by social media banter about rows of empty seats, minimal resale markups, and an overall absence of urgency. The storyline practically wrote itself. The individual who had touted herself as the new face of women's basketball couldn't seem to bring the turnstiles into motion, whereas Clark was capturing attention and wallets at a historic pace. Reese's personal brand includes a charismatic presence, a social media following, and a willingness to embrace a so-called villain role, yet none of that was translating into physical attendance, at least at this stage. And for those who track success metrics, there is no better sign of star power than the ability to pack an arena. Caitlin Clark's popularity is no accident. During her collegiate career, she was breaking records and lighting up highlight reels with her long-range shots, creative passing, and fearless style of play. She challenged conventional wisdom about how a point guard should operate, unleashing three-pointers from distances more often associated with men's professional leagues. After guiding Iowa to high-stakes showdowns that drew record television ratings, she entered the professional realm under intense scrutiny. Some doubted her transition. Others felt that she might lose steam, or that defenders in the big leagues would wear her down with more physical play. Instead, she exploded onto the scene in a way that validated every bit of hype surrounding her name. Her rookie year was marked by staggering accomplishments, the highest scoring output by a rookie in league history, unprecedented assist totals, and a skill set that forced opposing teams to consider moving their games to bigger venues just to handle the surge in attendance. Indeed, the Caitlin Clark effect became more than a catchy phrase. It morphed into an economic reality that made women's basketball games must-see events. Critics, analysts, and even NBA legends started chiming in, praising her court vision and skill as something special that could spark a new golden era for the league. When you have seasoned professionals like Steph Curry taking notice, it carries weight. Angel Reese, on the other hand, had her own wave of momentum. She made headlines with an outspoken personality and a knack for getting under opponents' skin, culminating in a high-profile moment during her collegiate career where she faced Clark on the biggest stage. That moment launched a rivalry in the public eye, with debates swirling about who the true face of the sport would be. Reese's supporters insisted that she brought as much excitement to the table as Clark, often pointing to her confident demeanor, defensive presence, and consistent scoring. But that energy apparently hasn't manifested in the massive turnout that some predicted. The entire spectacle reached a fever pitch when news broke that while Clark's tickets were impossible to get within minutes of release, Reese's tickets were scarcely moving days later. Even if fans wanted an affordable night out, they could find seats for less than the cost of a casual meal, which still weren't selling in large numbers. This lopsided demand became comedic fodder for fans on social media. Some made remarks about how Reese's games might as well be offered on discount sites, or how a family of 5 could attend for the cost of a single courtside seat at Clark's game. The comedic takes heightened the idea that Clark was indirectly clowning Reese just by drawing massive crowds and overshadowing her. Clark didn't even need to speak. The arenas spoke for her. On top of that, the preseason game in Iowa was not about meaningful standings or playoff spots. It was a warm-up, an exhibition, something that historically draws smaller gatherings. But Clark's presence elevated it into a must-have ticket, causing the website selling them to crash from the overwhelming demand. Meanwhile, the secondary market soared to extremes, with some resellers placing seats at thousands of dollars for a chance to sit courtside. Even those who disliked the hype could not deny that something extraordinary was happening. A women's basketball exhibition was reaching price points rivaling high-stakes contests in other sports. Such an occurrence revealed more than just a popularity gap. It demonstrated the tangible economic impact a transcendent star can have. Seasoned commentators pointed out that for the league to thrive, it needs players who can capture imagination on a national scale. Caitlin Clark appears to fit that role perfectly, while the conversation surrounding Angel Reese remains uncertain. Reese's supporters argue that her time will come, that 1 or 2 preseason games can't define a career, and that she has the tools to become a huge draw eventually. Yet the present narrative is indisputable. Clark leads the headlines, the box office, and the stats columns all at once. Some tried to defend Reese by suggesting her game might not have been marketed as aggressively, or that factors outside her control contributed to the lack of ticket traction. Still, this does little to quell the swirl of chatter about how she publicly named herself the face of the WNBA, and then failed to generate the kind of frenzy that Clark continues to spark. The conversation about who truly carries the league's future is heating up. One side insists that if Reese wants to be the antagonist, she needs to be box office gold. That means fans should be shelling out top dollar to see her, or at least filling seats at a moderate price. So far, that isn't happening. In response, Clark remains largely focused on her own game. She rarely addresses the hype or the rivalry directly, preferring to let the scoreboard and the attendance numbers do the talking. After all, that formula has worked wonders. Instead of proclaiming herself the face of anything, Clark stays zeroed in on improving her jump shot, her passing angles, and her ball handling under pressure. Whenever these two cross paths again, the storyline will inevitably revolve around how each one is performing both on and off the court. Until then, the scoreboard is showing an overwhelming win for Clark, at least in public opinion and in revenue generation. This divergence in fortunes provides a lesson about star power and genuine appeal. At the professional level, fans vote with their wallets, time, and attention. Social media presence might generate headlines and retweets, but it doesn't necessarily fill arenas. People need a reason to get excited, to pay their hard-earned money, and to show up game after game. Clark has proven her style, skill, and competitive edge resonate with audiences of all ages. Families admire her hustle, kids want to shoot from deeper ranges like she does, and analysts love her court awareness. Her approach translates into tangible attendance boosts, rating spikes, and merchandise sales. Meanwhile, Reese is discovering that the path to legitimate stardom in professional basketball requires more than a few viral moments. It demands consistency, visible improvement, and an unmistakable brand of play that brings fans back again and again. While it's certainly early in her professional journey, the immediate discrepancy between how the public reacts to Clark versus Reese is telling. The comedic angle arises from the fact that Reese once hinted she was on equal footing with Clark when it came to capturing eyeballs. However, a quick glance at the ticket maps for each of their games reveals the truth. One's seats disappear faster than they can be restocked, while the others remain plentiful long after release. To be fair, there is room for multiple stars in the league, and many fans would love to see both Clark and Reese thrive. A powerful rivalry can drive ratings higher, sustain headlines, and bring excitement to a sport that has been fighting for greater attention and investment. Yet every rivalry needs some semblance of competitive balance, or at least the perception that the two sides are evenly matched. Right now, the biggest competition appears to be between the thousands clamoring for Clark tickets and the nearly empty queues for Reese's seats. That mismatch does not lend itself to a dramatic storyline so much as it highlights how quickly fan bases coalesce around truly transcendent talent. It also bears noting that Clark's success isn't purely about individual stats. Her teams tend to win more often, attract more press, and create memorable moments. She passes, she scores, she pushes the tempo, and she makes the game entertaining for casual viewers as well as hardcore basketball enthusiasts. Reese might offer a defensive intimidation factor or an inside presence that some fans appreciate, but it hasn't translated into the must-see phenomenon that Clark has become. Perhaps down the road, if Reese refines her game and helps deliver meaningful wins or championship runs, the seats will fill up. Until that happens, the jokes will likely continue, suggesting that Clark is effectively clowning her by showing how a real draw operates in the realm of ticket sales and arena atmosphere. What might happen when these two eventually share the court again? The possibility looms that a marquee matchup could electrify women's basketball in a way reminiscent of great rivalries in sports history. If Reese truly wants that scenario, it might be time for her to step up performance-wise and capture not just social media headlines, but also the hearts of ticket-buying fans. Otherwise, Clark will keep collecting accolades, setting records, and drawing enormous crowds, leaving Reese in her dust. Clark's supporters will keep buying out every seat in sight, generating an atmosphere reminiscent of big-ticket men's playoff games, while Reese's admirers will need to come up with more than a couple of clever posts to shift momentum. For now, the scoreboard in this off-court competition sits heavily in Clark's favor. She continues to be the talk of the town, the driver of surging market interest, and the reason entire arenas are jam-packed. Every time someone checks a secondary ticket marketplace and sees astronomical numbers for a seat at Clark's game, the perception gap widens. Every time they look at the availability for Reese's game and see tickets languishing at bargain basement prices, the storyline solidifies. The comedic narrative of Caitlin Clark clowning Angel Reese might feel harsh, but it reflects what fans, analysts, and industry insiders are observing. Clark is putting on a show that everyone wants to see. Reese, meanwhile, is facing a sobering truth. Big talk must eventually match big-time ticket sales.